projects are aligned to standards, the learning goals are no mystery. Students understand what the learning is going to be about, and more importantly, why these big ideas are worth knowing in the first place.
No one's going to remember how many equations you do. Or, like if you did an equation right, and if you can do 20 of them. But if you tell them, oh, I remember I built a house and we learned how to find area and perimeter. I think that's just, the learning is more valuable for them. They'll remember this more. And I think that's why it's important to have all this learning done within the project.
When projects are aligned to standards, they're aligned in many ways. The rubrics have language from the standards. The scaffolding the teachers provide are aligned to the standards.
For example, a criteria for success is that your hypothesis is clear and uses the if, then, because format. Another criteria for success is you've identified the independent variable. Okay? So I want you to sort of always come back to this list as you're working on your experiments.
Students use language for the standards when they're doing critique protocols, for example.
The next part is the framing questions. So the presenter, you're going to, in 1 minute, tell what feedback you want back from your partner.
My framing questions are, does my project stay on topic? What can I make better? What do I need to work on? And is it...
So as with all the other project-based teaching practices, aligned to standards is something that happens over and over again. It doesn't just happen one time and then you're done with it.
So let me share with you our learning target. So our learning target is I can read informational text.
We have a trash collector, a chair pusher, a gardener, a Blue Blocks person.
I'm looking for connections in the real world to every academic area. We do follow kindergarten standards around literacy and math as guidelines. And so whenever I see an opportunity to integrate that learning, I just draw it out.
A high school math teacher likes to make sure that the standards she's addressing show up over and over and over again.
So I very carefully make sure I pick standards that either literally say real world or mathematical modeling, so that I know that I am going to its highest end in that principle. Or I look at a collection of standards that meet that principle. The goal for today is being able to explain compound interest, because that goes back to them meeting their financial goals. And so anytime I can take a standard and grow it, or take a standard that already is real world and utilize it, is exactly where I start to build out my projects.
She points them out in the daily learning goals. She helps students focus on their achievements and their mastery of standards by using a rubric to chart their own growth and to give each other feedback on how they're developing as mathematicians. And of course, at the end of the project, they're looking backward over the learning that's happened over time so that they can show evidence of that mastery by the end of the project. But those standards are very clear to students and in the teacher's mind throughout the project.